1, 2, 3, Öppna ögonen är podcasten om terapi och personlig utveckling, känslor och undermedvetna program där du träffar banbrytande terapeuter och coacher, helare och förändringsarbetare. Inspireras av andras framgångar och utmaningar, magiska transformationer av den mänskliga och andliga upplevelsen. Jag, Ahtola, delar med mig av allt jag lärt mig som hypnoterapeut och genom mitt eget levande. Från illusionen tillbaka till verkligheten. Dags att 1, 2, 3, öppna ögonen. Did you know that you can schedule your first hypnotherapy session with me as early as Wednesday, the 23rd of October, at least according to my calendar? And only 4 weeks after that, that's by November 20th, it's very possible that you have already achieved the results you're looking for when booking that first session with me. No more procrastination, performance anxiety at work or in bed. No more self-sabotage, overwhelming stress, fear of not being enough, fear of vomiting, stage fright. Goodbye to mental and creative blocks, unhealthy habits, and imposter syndrome. And that's only a few of the things I can help you with. I know it sounds bizarre, but we have to rethink therapy and change work. It is no longer necessary to spend a year or two talking and reasoning about an issue that you can resolve in less than a month. That's because Hypnotherapy 2.0 reaches deep into the root and core issue of your old beliefs. And because we are using the right language to speak to your subconscious mind, the changes are fast, effective, and powerful, and you are the one in control. You could wait, hesitate, and stay stuck, or get in touch with me to schedule your first strategy call today. I am looking forward to hear from you. One of my most downloaded episodes is Money Mindset with my friend and coach Ben Getley from last summer. Finally, I had the opportunity to sit down with him to record part 2, where we are going deeper into the underlying blocks when it comes to money, finances, and security. And it feels a little scary to be this vulnerable. But in the second half of the episode, you will hear Ben giving me a short coaching session live. We're exploring my rigid protecting parts, keeping me stuck in old beliefs about safety and money. It was a beautiful session, and I felt 100% safe being guided by Ben, who is a very confident and empathetic coach. Are you interested in exploring your money blocks and how you can change your mindset? Get in touch with Ben, who is now offering a free complimentary session to the listeners of 1, 2, 3, Öppna ögonen. Go to bengetleycoaching.com, write to him and let him know I sent you, and you will get a free session, which is not only very generous of him, but available slots are also very rare because he has a busy schedule. So listen to your FOMO, reach out to Ben as soon as you hear this. His information is also in the episode description. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ben Getley. Your episode about 1.5 years ago is one of the most popular ones, one of the most downloaded. It's actually when I've done interviews, which is about a third or maybe 50% of my episodes are interviews. And yours are the most downloaded interview of this podcast. And why do you think money and money mindset is so fascinating to people? Why is it so what draws people in?
Sure. I'd just say it's your catchy titles, Dan. You're just a brilliant content creator. It's just the titles you're putting out there. So it's all down to you.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. But thanks for the compliment. But
No, it's a great question,
mm,
and one I was actually thinking about yesterday. So thank you for the opportunity to come on last year. It was a great session. I know we had a great weekend together prior to that as well,
sure.
um, and I really enjoyed recording that. So yeah, I'm stoked that that got that sort of response from your listeners. So thank you. Um, and yeah, as I was thinking about this yesterday, I think what came to mind was money is it's like the last taboo. It's one of the most unspoken topics that are out there. People don't walk around town saying, "Hey, how much are you on? My house is bigger than yours. My net worth's bigger than yours, etc., etc." Right? So it's kind of like, although I'm really pleased that that got out there, as I thought about it, I thought linking this to money being a taboo, it's probably not so much of a surprise because if we put content out there that we can listen to in private, and money's like the greatest taboo, but money's also one of the biggest stressors in our lives. It's one of the biggest causes of marriage breakups, stress. If we don't have money, like life is tough. So yeah, that's kind of where I landed with that. I thought it's great that that message is out there. However, deep down, I'm not surprised, and it kind of leads to what we're talking about today, Dan. Um, because if money's like the last taboo, many people are trying out there on their own to understand their finances and, you know, messing around with spreadsheets, reading books, listening to podcasts. And then when that doesn't work, they potentially think there's something wrong with them or they give up. Right. So, and money coaching, who knows it exists? I didn't know it existed like
Mm,
5 years ago. It's a really new sort of part of coaching. And again, like if we look at your practice of hypnotherapy, many people know that you want to improve an area of your life or give up a habit or an addiction. Hypnotherapy is a go-to methodology, whereas coaching is relatively new. It was been around since the 60s. However, it's not a modality that people wake up one day and think, hey, I need to get a coach. So there's a lot of people out there with money problems, you know, doing it tough, doing it on their own,
mm.
not realizing that there's even this as a resource. So I'm so grateful for you putting that message out there that money coaching is an option for your listeners. Um, and I'm excited about today where we're going to take this conversation.
Well, it's sort of going to a therapist is it could be very vulnerable talking
Mm,
about, of course, it's not only about numbers and your finances and what you're investing in.
mm,
It's more of the mindset, how does money make you feel? Because and we spoke about that last time, that money is not just the numbers. It's far from just being
yeah.
numbers, and I know I'm very well aware about that.
Mm.
But why don't we go deeper into that?
Can we? Can we go deep?
Yeah,
Mhm.
after a sip of tea.
Sure. It's coffee. It's Sunday morning, nice coffee. So we're going to geek out, right? But we're not going to geek out on numbers.
Mm,
In saying that, it would be very ignorant of me to sit here and say that money's not about the numbers. Of course, it's about the numbers. It's a maths game, and that's a big part of what I do. I help people with financial literacy, get an understanding of where they are now and where they want to be. So yeah, money coaching is two parts, but where I find that the greatest difference for me is implementing a lot of the work that we do as coaches, as therapists in our men's group. And again, yeah, last time we spoke, we said it's not about the numbers, and I think we sort of left it there a bit of a cliffhanger, knowing that we had part two this year. Um, yeah, so look, let's dig a bit deeper on that. So when people come to me, um, as I mentioned, they're not getting what they want in life. They're getting the same results. And it could be, it might not just be about money. It might be poor health, disorganization. They're worried about retiring in the future. They want to retire early. They want to get their business off the ground, make some more money. There's too much month left, not enough money. There's heaps of problems that people are bringing to me as a client and a coach. And here's the thing, like more money with the same problems won't solve the problem. And as Einstein said, you can't solve the problem with the same thinking that created the problem. And I know you and I use that a lot in our discussions offline about coaching and therapy. That the presenting problem, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, I think this is what we say, the presenting problem is never really the real problem. It's deep down beneath the surface.
The problem is just the symptom, or
Yes,
the problem might be your subconscious mind trying to find a solution.
absolutely. And it's stuck in this loop and it doesn't know how to get out because it's happening unconsciously. And until we make the unconscious conscious, that's where the deep work's done. And that's where I find as a coach the biggest change and awakenings for clients occurs.
Hmm.
So
Perfect.
yeah, I think I guess as an opener, what we're sort of talking about today is healing and going deeper on this conversation and the stages of money with the stages of healing.
I know a lot of people will love this, even
Yeah.
though for some people it might be uh like unknown territory.
Mm,
Like who would have known these two seemingly very different parts
hmm.
actually are really connected.
Yeah.
But so um, does money and financial literacy not come into this?
It absolutely does. As we sort of touched on a minute ago, there's the practicality of this. Um, many people will keep a budget. They'll keep a budget. They'll be very fastidious about it. I'll see spreadsheets that come to me when clients fill out the initial paperwork that document where the money is going. But then there's like this overspend, or there's no planning for the future, or not. They're not even clear about what the future looks like, and that's where a lot of the vision and the mission comes into it. And also, just a practicality of understanding the world of finance is it's kind of set up to confuse the shit out of us, right? Because it's a money-making industry. And yeah, absolutely. I'm there to help demystify that and teach people like the basics and the understanding. And also, more importantly than that, empower them to go out there and learn for themselves. So absolutely, it's a very strong part of what financial coaching is. However, a good percentage of the time, I find the deeper work is actually where the real work is done because we can't become wealthy just by willpower alone. And it's kind of like if you're trying to lose weight or change another part of your life, willpower is just a small part of it. And that's kind of what we're touching on today. Like one of the benefits of going deep and doing the, I guess, emotional healing work is that you get to not just rely on willpower. You're aware of what's going on consciously deep beneath the surface, which allows you to make decisions from an informed and authentic place.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm,
And personally, I've seen, the biggest changes in how my business is going and how, well, basically how much money I'm making.
mm,
Changes have come after healing moments,
mm,
after decisions, after changes in emotional blocks.
mm.
Do you see that in your clients as well?
Absolutely. It's kind of like And thank you for sharing that. It's kind of like a look inside, because the quality of our relationships determine the quality of our lives. So a relationship with money is like a relationship with a person. If that relationship is poor, then the quality of our lives are going to be poor. We're going to be pushing back against it. We're going to be fighting it, um, not treating it as we would do ourselves. So I'm just curious, as you share that contrast, Dan, and I'm not asking you to reveal any personal stuff. I'm just like to sort of look at a contrast of thinking about that as I want my money to be better in the first place, and then doing some work internally on yourself.
Mm.
What did that feel like after you'd had those realizations?
Oh, yeah. It was like opening portals, or uh, a few different portals.
Mm,
Yeah, because money doesn't just come to you.
hmm
It has to have a way in to your bank account or to your
hmm
wallet, or however you want to describe it.
mm,
And in my case, I run my own business and I need to be visible. I need to share my expertise. I need to be able to show people and tell people how I can help them to grow, to heal, to transform,
mm.
um, to find their own way to empower themselves.
Yeah.
But I I wasn't able to do that because I had a fear of what they might think of me.
hmm
The big they,
Yeah.
the big scary they.
They're out there.
Um, yeah, until I realized, they do not exist. So, as much of a relief as that was, realizing I don't have to answer to them, I noticed a shift in, how I talk about what I do and my confidence,
Mm,
and that helped my business, and that opened the portals for, honestly, more money to flow to my business and to me.
yeah.
But the the personal emotional relief was so much greater,
Mm,
and that's what really counts. And I know that, and I knew that before, but I realized it on a deeper level.
yeah. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And I know, having seen your journey over the last 4 years we've been hanging out, right? I've seen that development in you, and I think it's absolutely amazing. And it comes back down to, you doing the inner work and being vulnerable. And that shift in you has just been absolutely fantastic. And again, yeah, it's like it's allowing you to serve your clients, your audience, and just help more people, because that's what you're there to do in your business. You're there to help people. And the money it's an energy, right? It's a byproduct of you doing what you love, which is helping people.
Mm.
And you being your authentic self allows you to reach more people and do the work that you're here to do. So I'm just so pleased for you, Dan. And this kind of talks beautifully to what we're speaking about here. The money, is a byproduct. The money came. And I know we did a few sessions, and I don't think we got any spreadsheets out. I don't think we spoke about money. Um, really? Did we?
Uh, no, don't remember that, ever. We never discussed numbers. We never discussed, how much I earn, how much I want to earn.
Hmm.
But and also something you said in this conversation was you empower people so they can, find their information to teach themselves
Hmm.
about finance, about maybe investing or whatever that might
Sure.
be. But that's so hard to do. It's so hard to take in that information and actually transform it to action if you feel that the energy of money is negative or you're in a lack
Hmm.
mindset, because really the energy of money is neutral. You know
Correct.
what I'm saying about that? It's neutral. It doesn't have any value. It doesn't have any, money doesn't think. Money doesn't want anything. It's up to you, um, what kind of value you put into it.
Absolutely. And like nothing has meaning other than the meaning we give it. And if you think about that, for your listeners who are listening right now, it's a good question to ask. Say, what does money mean to you? So if money, one exercise that I do use as a coach is if money came to tea. So if money rocked up at your doorstep, knocked on the door, and you were going to have a cup of tea or coffee, or something stronger, and money sat down opposite you, what would money say?
Mm.
What would it look like? What would it feel like? Because normally it's numbers on the bank account, isn't it? And it's kind of your bank statement arrives and you might look at it and think, oh, that's fuck, that's not again.
Like
And this is kind of what.
if you're telling your money you're not enough, you're
Mhm.
too weak, there isn't enough of you. Imagine saying that to a person. And I would advise
Mm.
everyone to just um, skip back 1 minute, grab a pen and a paper, and start writing. Answer
Mhm.
those questions. Could you repeat them? I think it was if
Yeah, so
number
if
knocked on
money
your
came
door.
to tea, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it say to you? And what would you say to money? And how would money react to what you've just said to it?
Hmm. So this is money coaching or money mindset coaching on a completely different level than I've ever
Absolutely.
heard
Yeah.
of or ever, imagine it to be.
Mm. And yeah, this to me, it's for me, I've evolved as a coach because when I first came across the idea, I was really thinking it was about telling people this is what you need to do. And, as a coach, you develop and you attract the clients that you're ready for at any given stage of your own path.
Mm.
And I had a rough idea of what I was doing, but until I sort of combined um, financial coaching as a practitioner, along with deep um, inner work coaching, like inspired by internal family systems, the work of John Bradshaw, which is family systems and inner child work, which I know, Dan, you sort of we've used that in our men's group. We use it regularly to communicate with each other, um, and deep healing work, recovering from trauma. This is where I've really sort of become authentic as a coach myself. And it's taken me a while to understand that the two can exist. And that's what my coaching practice is really about. It's doing the deep emotional healing work because we all have a little bit to do. I think John Bradshaw says that, or did say, sorry, he's passed away now, that 98% of families that we all grow up in are dysfunctional. So as we are born as a child, we're full of joy, love, compassion, we're open. And if we think about what John Bradshaw's saying there, 98% of families are dysfunctional. And that's not to say that um, there's any right or wrong to this. Everybody's doing the best that they can in their families with the resources and the knowledge that they have. However, we're tribal. We're born. So if we go back like millions of years, if we're born into a tribe um, and we're not loved, we don't feel good enough, we don't belong, the survival instinct in us is that we're rejected from that tribe. So if we think about that in a family system, we're born. We look to um, whatever guardianship, parents, system, and this could be like religion, it could be any system that we're born into. That guides us, and that's who we eventually conform
Mm.
to feel safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. So
And if
go.
98% of families are dysfunctional, you start to think, what does an actual functional family look like?
Yeah.
And of course, we all have our different ideas of it,
Hmm.
but it also helps you to realize that I'm not alone. And
Yes.
and also I want to say a dysfunctional family doesn't mean it has to be violence, abuse, addiction. I think and I think we agree
Hmm.
about this, that most dysfunction are it's emotional dysfunction.
That's it. It's yeah, like you say, it's not as extreme as saying that 98% of dysfunctional families are creating all of us walking around with trauma. It's just saying that to survive and to belong, to be loved,
Mm.
and to be enough is what we need as a child. And we just take on roles to achieve that as we grow up. So what happens is we take on these roles, and it could be, to please, we're pleasing the tribe. It could be a caretaker. It could be over caring. Um, it could be the good girl, right? Or the good boy,
Mm.
not wanting to disrupt the system. And we take on these roles and eventually they become masks. So we put these masks on and take them out into the world, thinking that's who we are. And essentially what's happening there is we're rejecting our authentic self. And as if you think of like a big cloud, we're going up through this cloud, and as we're rejecting ourselves, all these different parts are raining down. So parts of ourselves that we're rejecting to belong to the tribe.
Mm.
Um, if we go back to your example there, we're rejecting part of yourself because they might think you're not good enough. So there's little parts of you that's raining down,
Mm.
that's stopping you being your authentic self, which you're now proudly out there, putting yourself out there. So this is kind of what the work that we're talking about here is. It's taking those parts, getting back in contact with them
Mm.
and letting them know that they are enough, they are loved, they do belong, and showing self-compassion to those parts to allow you to um, co-regulate your emotions, put yourself back together again, and be comfortable with your authentic self. And that's where the deep healing inner work comes in, which, when we spoke about earlier, allowed you to have the money flowing back into your life. Because all the time that you're shutting down and rejecting that part of yourself, you're not being who you need to be.
Mm.
So the money problem is not the problem. It was the underlying, hey, this is who I want to be.
Yeah.
And because I'm not being that who I want to be, I'm creating this block in my life, which is restricting the flow of money. So thank you for sharing that example because it's a brilliant way to bring to life what we're talking about here. And for me, this has really led me to uncover internal family systems by Dr. David Schwartz. And his work is absolutely fantastic. So um, he really focuses on these parts. So if we think about a part, could be a part of us that we're rejecting, and it might be, say, if we take emotional spending, for instance, or addiction to gambling, or overworking to bring more money in, somebody might come along as a client and say, hey, I've got this problem. Here's a presenting problem. I've got this part of me that is doing this behavior. And they want to solve it. They want to reject it, draw a line under the part, fix it, suppress it, and move on.
Mm.
But what we're talking about here is let's give that part some space. Because if that part was a child and it came up to you at home in the kitchen, and it's like, hey, I've got this problem. I'm this part of you that is doing this behavior.
Mm.
We wouldn't tell around and just shut the part down, get rid of it, get out of my sight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I usually um, describe it this way, if your child goes to bed and is calling you and says, that it's a monster under my bed.
Hmm.
So what do we do? Is the right thing to say, to be logical and say, no, it's not, and just shut the door again?
Yeah.
Or should we, sit with the child, comfort it, and say, so you're scared.
Mm.
What are you feeling? How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Just give it space to describe his or her emotions, and then, so why don't we take a look under the bed, see what's there?
Mm.
But I think we're treating ourselves, or our parts, our inner parts, that way, shutting the door and not wanting to listen to it. And I think it's um, something genius about this, what you're describing, because imagining money standing at your doorstep, you invited in for tea or for a coffee to sit and
Mm.
discuss. What you're actually doing is you're creating a part
Mm.
and actually trying to heal that part of you, and knowing, money isn't something far away. it's
Yeah.
it's not a thing unavailable to you. It's not something foreign, but it's
Hmm.
actually something that is a part of you.
Mm.
Do I understand you right?
Absolutely. It's a great understanding. So yeah, it's like looking at the monster under the bed.
Mm.
We don't shut it down. And there's a great book by Richard Schwartz, which is No Bad Parts, because we can look at these parts of us as being real bad. They're a bad part. Don't want to know it. Shut it down. But we know from therapy that shutting a part down just suppresses it. It's giving it space, like some clarity, confidence, calm. I think above all of those things, it's the space that you give it and listen to that part. So something you said there actually was really interesting. I think it was about the logic, right? So you got the child, which is presenting a monster. So a child's brain, I think, and the science on this may be a little bit vague on what I'm about to say, but we have the lower brain, which is the amygdala, which is the emotional brain. And then we have the prefrontal cortex, which is the higher brain, which I think begins in a child to develop around about 5 to 8 years old. So up until that stage, it's really the emotional brain is in control. So if we look at that example of the monster, right? So your child wakes you up in the middle of the night and it's seeing a monster. They don't have access to the logical brain. It's just that the monster is real. So the emotions are just absolutely there. And that's what's driving the child's thinking. So to logic a child in that situation is not going to work. And this really links into what we're talking about this way of talking to the parts and therapy is we're talking to the emotional part of the brain here. So to access that, it's really giving it space, you calm it down. And somatic healing is a lot of stepping into this space and creating so much compassion and love for that part of us
Mm.
that we can then create a platform for accessing as adults the logical brain, because as adults we have access to the logical brain. However, because a lot of this work that is happening as a child, say if we go back to the cloud we were speaking about a minute ago, things happen in the past. So if we look at the extreme traumas that happen, the body shuts down and it's locked and frozen in time. And that's the emotional part of us. So to access that part from so long ago as an adult is exactly the same as talking to the child. You need to give that part and that emotional part of the brain space. We can't logic it because it's been locked and frozen in time at that particular age. And what's happening is if we think about a spiral, if we've got the body here, and then we've got the lower brain and the higher brain, and then we've got the authentic self. So if we go back to your example earlier, we've got the authentic Dan up the top here, and then we have the emotional brain. So what's happening is as we heal, we're jumping from distrust to trust. It's like a spiral. The logical brain knows it's going, as an adult, we know that um, we have access to the logical brain. However, as we learn to heal through the stages of healing and through the stages of money, we're going from distrust to trust. So if there's an emotional spender or an addiction to gambling or something like that, there might be moments of, okay, I've got this, trust. Then I flip to distrust, being really hard on the part. So we bring them back to, okay, what does that part need right now? Because that part's telling you something. Let's give it some space, compassion, love. We
Mm.
come back to trust. And as we heal through these stages, that's where the money's coming up. And that's where the deep work's done, leading to the authentic self.
Brilliant. This something happens to me when you're when you're talking about this. I can feel that something's moving within. Something's
Hmm.
like it's like I feel like something wants to be talked to or something wants to be addressed.
Within you.
Yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
it's like when we're saying that it's okay to create some space,
Sure.
it's okay to be heard.
It is.
Like instead of, chasing solutions
Mm-hmm.
or chasing ideas, why don't we just actually take a step back and welcome them?
Wow.
Create a space for solutions or for your parts, for your inner child to step forth
Sure.
instead of just chasing them and, trying to reason, willing your way to a solution or to your authentic self.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I can't say that even though I'm flattered what you're saying, I'm definitely not in my authentic self all the time. I still have work to do.
Mm.
But what happened a few years ago, I took a step forward.
Yeah, sure. And thank you for sharing that as well, Dan, because it's really important to, people will be hopefully listening to this so far. They haven't switched off 15 minutes ago. Um, Feeling that you and I are sitting here with all the answers, and that's absolutely not the case. We all have different parts of our lives that aren't our authentic selves, and we've all got the work to do. And I think it's really important as therapists and coaches to be honest about that,
Mm.
that we're actually out there doing the inner work as well,
Mm.
trying to make ourselves better human beings. And I know yesterday, an example for me, I was out the back painting my fence, and it pretty much started raining as I finished. So I was just stepping back to look at it, and it rained and washed, I don't know, good 80% of the paint off the fence. And do you think my logical brain handled that well?
Not at
Absolutely
all.
not. Down the spiral, emotional brain kicked in,
Mm.
and my emotional brain wanted to just knock the fence over, which would have really made the situation worse. So
Well, it also wants to create a solution, then you never would have to paint again.
that's it. So thank you for your honesty there, and highlighting that, because we've all got work to do, and it's really important that we turn towards that. And that's what this work is. It's actually um, because we have safe problems and risky problems.
Mm.
And the safe problem is, if we go back to the presenting problem, it's the things that our clients will come to us with. It would be procrastination, it'd be a money problem, it could be a relationship problem, a career problem, any problem. The safe problem is what's keeping us safe from having to deal with and turning towards not being good enough, not being loved, a feeling of not belonging. And the risky problem is a risky truth. So it's really turning towards that truth and going internal to do the work. And that's where the vulnerability comes in, because it is risky, it's vulnerable. Sitting here having this conversation between the two of us and putting it out to the world is risky and it's vulnerable.
Mm.
But unless we do that, we remain stuck. And that's where the change comes, because we can logic the crap out of stuff. We can use the spreadsheets and the numbers. And we can do all the financial coaching over here.
Mm.
Unless we turn towards those risky problems, we're going to remain stuck. And that's quite
Yeah,
sobering.
numbers are really logical, but that's not the point. The point is, how do you interpret those numbers? How do they make you feel?
Absolutely. And that's really big. It's huge,
Mm.
because a lot of this can get misunderstood with money coaching. And this is how I've built my practice. And for me, it took a lot to stand up as a coach and say, this is what I do,
Mm.
because the emotional part of me thought no one will ever listen to this.
But you're challenging sort of the idea, I think of the idea that many people have about financial coaching or money coaching, that so what you're talking about is deep healing and transformation and inner child and parts work.
Mhm.
But I think we all need to um, just try on a new perspective,
Absolutely.
because
And
willing it
mm,
to happen doesn't work. It's time to try something new.
that's brilliant. That's so well said, Dan. And here's the thing, you can try it on and you don't have to accept it.
Mm.
However, to try it on means that you can try it on and then you have to reject it.
Mm. I tried on a couple of new pants 2 days ago. Didn't fit me, so I returned them. I bought the ones that actually fit me.
Brilliant. Great work. And
Mm. You can use that same logic for, I guess, a mindset or an idea too.
it's a great,
But if you're no, I'm not even willing to go into that store, then you will never know.
sure. It's really good. And I'm going to borrow that metaphor, Dan. Thank you. And presumably you didn't reject the pants. You showed them love, compassion, um, and created a lot of space for those pants, but maybe not enough. That's why you returned them.
Now we're going too far with, I think, with that metaphor. But yeah, thanks for that.
Hey, Dan, are we all right if we just stop? I've got to get some water. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
course, pause. Right. Uh, yeah, go on. I'm not sure where I was going to start. Just
Yeah,
give
so
the word back to you.
yeah, so we've had a wardrobe change. All that talk of clothing has prompted a wardrobe change.
Yeah.
So Dan, something you were saying a few minutes ago in our conversation was that there was something that came up for you. Um, and apologies to skip over that. I think we were so engrossed in our conversation that we kept geeking out. So tell me more.
Uh, sometimes it's hard to put into words. Just feel like something's opening and wants to be seen.
Mhm. Sure.
Um, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think it's just resonating with what you're saying,
Mm. Okay.
and maybe it's part of my business identity, or
Mhm.
maybe it's the way I think about money and finances, or stability.
Mhm.
Maybe it's something else.
Sure. Okay.
Maybe we should investigate.
Yeah, let's explore, shall we, together?
Yeah,
Okay, Dan. Well, thank you for sharing that, firstly. So just take a moment to notice what's coming up for you. Any feelings?
I think the initial thought is the part of me wanting to expand and grow even more, not just in business, just uh, as myself,
Mhm.
wanting to go big, wanting to really expand my beliefs of what my limits are.
Mm. Okay. So just take a moment to notice where in your body this is coming up for you right now.
It's between the heart and solar plexus.
Okay. Sure. So maybe if you can, Dan, just place your hand there. That's good. And just take a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And again in through the nose and out through the mouth. And maybe just when you're connecting with that part, if that's the part that wants to be connected with, just nod so I know you've connected with it.
Mm.
Thank you. And maybe just take a moment to ask that part if it's okay that we connect with it today.
Definitely. It's easy.
Mm, it's keen. Okay. And Dan, is there anything that this part wants you to know?
It's it has some questions,
Mm,
like, will I be okay? Is it safe?
mm,
What if?
mm.
It's just a what if, what if, what if.
That's good. I just want you to create some more space for that part and let it know that these questions are perfectly fine. Mhm. And Dan, how old is that part?
I think around between 7 and 10.
Mhm. Yeah. So this part needs to know from you, Dan, that it's going to be okay. And what if? Mm.
It's okay to shine this. It's okay to be brilliant.
Mm.
And brilliant and shining doesn't take away any brilliance from anyone else.
Mm.
Doesn't have to be compared with anyone else.
Mhm. It doesn't. And what else would this part of you like from you, Dan, from the adult Dan?
For me to lead,
Mm.
to to lead the way.
Mhm.
I can't sit around to wait for that part of me because that part is a child, and I'm a grown man, and it's up to me.
It is.
Mm.
But that part of you is real.
Mm.
It's there. And we need to know, we need to let that part know that it's okay. It can be there with the adult Dan as well.
It's horrible feeling alone.
Mm.
Like a part of me wanting to make decisions, but not knowing if it's safe, not knowing who to ask.
Mhm.
There's something really powerful in asking for help,
I can see that, Dan.
not just asking myself for help, but asking others to help me.
Yeah. And what happened in the past when this part asked for help?
There's a fear of rejection
Mhm.
surfacing, like a feeling of I should just know.
Mm.
I don't know how I'm supposed to or able to know. I should just know. And not wanting to show any of that, pretending to, oh, that's a hard surface.
Yeah,
I can see it, that shell, that surface.
sure. And is it surrounding you? Is it big? Is it small?
Like an iron iron shield
Mm. Yeah.
that I'm carrying in front of me.
It's been there for a long time, right?
Mm. Been there for a long time.
And
Never show that you're weak.
mhm. Mhm.
And I
And
and
this,
I notice, what I know here.
mm,
It's like it's able to connect to what's back here,
sure.
knowing it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay not to know.
And that part of you, Dan, that was afraid to ask for help, that was thinking it should know. It was only 7 years old. Its job wasn't to know. How could it know? It couldn't know.
Mm,
And that part of you was keeping you safe.
mm,
And would it be okay to acknowledge that part of you for keeping you safe all this time?
mm,
So go ahead, Dan, take a moment to acknowledge
mm.
that part of you. And
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
mm,
Thank you. I love you.
yeah. And how is that part receiving that love and that thanks, Dan?
Imagine just letting that armor, that shield go and being hit by sunlight.
Mm, yeah.
Mm.
And can that part get a glimpse of that sunlight right now?
It's covered
Mm,
in sunlight. It's like the sun is shining through. It's all sunlight. It's all just light.
and does that part know how old you are, Dan?
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And how has that part been keeping you safe, Dan?
By carrying the armor, the shield,
Mm-hmm.
safe from just safe from harm. but not knowing really what harm is.
Yeah.
Thinking that there's like there's too much risk, too much danger,
Mm.
not realizing what is now. Do you know what I want access to? I want access to that playful, creative, like anything is possible energy
Mm.
of that child. Like so, so much sunlight, sunshine.
Mm. So go ahead and ask that part if it's okay if we can connect with that part. Yeah. It's coming up for you, Dan.
It's like everything that's serious, thinking about the business, thinking about I want others to see me and my persona. And it's like all I hear is it's all just fun and games.
Mm.
We're playing. We're all playing. So why not just have fun
Hmm.
with it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what does that part think about that right now?
it's like no doubt at all.
Hmm.
It's fun and games. Let's play. Let's pretend.
Yeah.
And if it's all fun and games, there's no risk involved.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful.
Mm.
And how does that part that's been keeping you safe feel about that? Knowing that there's risk there, but it's okay to allow that risk to occur.
It's like seeing, the risk, the dangers was a giant. It turned into an ant.
Wow.
So I can see, yeah, it's there, but it can't help me.
Yeah.
But I notice it's there, but it's just also a part of this.
Yeah. And
Mm. And the energy in my body is like, let's go,
mhm.
let's get up and go.
I can see that. And Dan, is it okay if we ask that part of you if it can still be there to keep you safe as it needs to?
Mm.
But is it okay if it just takes a back seat or a side seat just for this moment while Dan drives?
Yeah,
Hmm.
sitting in the back seat, singing and watching the landscape outside.
Yeah. Having fun
Yeah, let's have some fun. Let's create some magic.
together.
Yeah.
Now, Dan, ask if it's okay. Go ahead and ask. Excuse me. Ask that part if it needs anything else for you in the future.
Mm. Doesn't need, but it wants me to be myself,
Mm,
to see myself, acknowledge myself.
mhm,
'Cause that way I can lead.
mhm.
I can lead myself, and if others want to follow, please do. But also know that you're also a leader for yourself.
Mhm.
That's a very important
Mm,
thing to learn. You you are the leader of yourself, of your experience. You decide.
yeah.
You make the decisions. You make the change.
Mhm. Now, Dan, just before we come back, I'd just like you to check in with that part.
Mm.
And is there anything else it needs from you right now? And thank you.
It feels happy to be seen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Just take a moment to breathe in some more and create some space for that part, Dan, before we come back. And as you slowly come back, take a moment to thank that part for what they've shared with you today and let them know that you're always going to be there for them and you can always come back.
Yes. It's like my heart's been growing. It's about twice the size. Thank you so much, Ben.
My pleasure, Dan. And thank you for your vulnerability there, for creating that space and being an example for your listeners of the inner work journey. That's a really powerful gift to yourself, but also your listeners too, to show them who the authentic Dan actually is.
Mm.
I'm
Thank you
seeing the
for
growth that
creating
you're
this
looking.
space.
Yeah, I'm seeing the growth that you're looking for. You know, when we came into this discussion at the start, you were
Mm.
looking to grow and expand yourself.
Mm.
I think personally, I've just witnessed that on this call. Go
Thank you.
you.
And not a word about savings and investment numbers, right? But
No,
I know this has everything to do with that.
it does.
And this is not, a generic example of everyone's connection with that inner part of you. It's This is the way that I need to step up and to grow. That
Hmm.
I encourage everyone to Just close your eyes and notice what comes up, what
Yeah.
arises, what you are feeling. And of course, I recommend that they connect with you, Ben, for that brilliant guidance.
Thank you, Dan.
Amazing.
And it's really true. I feel that this is a technique that your listeners can take away and start implementing in their lives right now.
Mm,
Um, and hopefully we've given a good demonstration of that today.
mm,
But essentially, if we look at in society, there's a lot of discussion around avoiding things that trigger us.
mm,
Or you triggered me. You can't say that because it triggers something within me.
mm,
It's it's denying what's within. It's trying to control the external world to conform to our or your map of reality to keep us safe.
mm,
And this is a brilliant technique your listeners can use right now. And think of any area of your life, whatever triggers, if there's something that comes up around money, business, relationships, your career, it could be an interaction at work, something that triggers you that day. Take a moment to go home in the evening
mm,
and get curious with the love and compassion that we've just shown there towards that part, because these parts can be driving us as opposed to us driving the parts.
mm. Beautiful. Stop looking for answers or solutions outside of you, somewhere else far, far away,
Mm,
because I believe you have everything you need within you.
absolutely. It's a fundamental belief of therapy and coaching is
Mm.
that our clients are whole and able and have everything within them that they need right now. So I'm excited for you, Dan, your future, for your listeners, what they can take away from this session
Yeah, this is awesome.
and the change they can create in their lives right now.
Ben Getley, how can the listeners connect with you?
Yeah, sure.
Where do they find you?
So they can connect with me through my website, which is bengetleycoaching.com. And they can connect with me. And also, Dan, I'm offering for your listeners today a free complimentary session. If anything has come up for them today and they'd like to dig a bit further, or even just connect with me and do some work.
I recommend it 1000%.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you, Dan. It's been great to see you again.